The notepad has the I suppose all the first-class cabins. It says, Inspector, be in the saloon at 10 p.m. There is a murderer on board and I will expose him. B. The Baroness seems to have known the murderer, and that means that the Raven can't be the murderer. He never killed anybody. Legrand probably never got the message, otherwise he'd have said something. The mannequin surely came with the cabin. A mannequin for the Baroness's clothes would have a more generous figure. The portholes face the side deck. If someone climbed out of the cabin through a porthole, Legrand and I would have seen them. Apparently, the Baroness didn't have time to unpack her bags. Or rather, didn't have time to tell her butler to unpack them for her. I guess our stowaway knocked me out. Whatever his story is, he's not a thief. Nothing's missing from my wallet. Sifting through all that would take ages. But here, the Baroness... Ha-ha! A small leather-bound book. 1964 is engraved on it. The port... It's the same. And the Baronet... Let's see. Yes, it's difficult to read. No entry from yesterday. A brief, sober description of what she's done recently. Met Morris, arranged benefit concert for renovation of Times photo shoot for Eye of Sphinx. BM... and so on. This entry looks strange. The handwriting is dreamt of Bobby. Yesterday would have been his birthday. The Baroness was a... She write almost... I'll leave it there. I don't have... Cosmetics. Something's under there. Down feathers. Maybe from a quilt. Nothing. Although it's... There's still blood. The sheet and the blanket have already been removed. I must go. The tape recorder is older than the hills. Top of the... There's only one. And it's the wrong one. A reel made by side. They use, but they're not. A big, ugly, and impractical vase. If it had a wider opening, one could at least use it as an umbrella stand. Assuming the murderer isn't a magician, and the or another alarm. It was... The Baroness's butler. Hello, Mr. Inch.
Oh, Constable, hello.
You look the worse for wear. It must be terrible for you.
Quite terrible. No one will hire me now.
Excuse me?
My mistress was murdered. Would you hire a butler who's been mixed up in a...
But if it turns out that you're not guilty...
If, but what if not? Who else would they blame? There are no gardeners on this ship.
Under the...
Of course.
Did you notice anything suspicious last night?
No, sir. After the Baroness went to the saloon, I went to the forecastle. I was there until the alarm went off. I went to the side deck and arrived shortly after Professor Lucian and Miss Miller. We found you and Inspector...
The Baroness's cabin seems to have been ransacked.
Indeed, sir, by the Baroness herself.
Really?
She was searching for something the entire afternoon.
And did she find it?
I think she did, sir, yes. She was in high spirits when she finally left.
You wouldn't happen to know what she was looking for, would you?
I'm afraid not.
The gunshot just before the alarm went off. Did you hear it from the forecastle?
No, just the alarm, sir.
You said you were on the forecastle. It sounded like the Baroness let you have the rest of the night off.
Not entirely.
Right. Why was that?
I suppose that she wanted to toast the success of...
She hadn't intended to take a nap, then?
That was not her way, sir. She had a lot of spirit, shall we say, when it came to so...
Would you describe the Baroness as orderly?
Well, she always had a lot of responsibilities, sir.
That doesn't answer my question.
She used to take a lot of luggage on journeys, and I helped her keep track of it as best I could. She was always...
What about the photos and the documents I saw in her cabin?
I really don't know. They were out of bounds to me, sir. Memories from the war, I'd say. They meant a lot to her.
The Baroness seemed to be pretty drunk the last time I saw her.
Is that so?
Does that surprise you? Did the Baroness not drink?
Oh, yes, she...
I understand. How serious was her habit?
Serious enough, sir.
Was she under any medical supervision?
Certainly not, sir. She adamantly refused to see a doctor. Like so many elderly women, she had a distinct aversion to hospitals and the like.
How long had you worked for the Baroness?
6 months, sir.
Only 6 months. I always thought that butlers stayed with their employers for decades.
Those decades have to start at some point, Constable. Her former butler wasn't able to fulfill his
I understand.
I took on his duties and hoped for a secure position for the next 20 years.
May I ask what happened to your arm?
A souvenir from the war, sir. Yes, sir, obviously.
I didn't mean to offend you.
The Baroness had a soft spot for disabled veterans. I think she'd been through a lot herself.
I think that's all for now.
Please, sir, find the murderer. You have to clear me of all suspicion.
The Baroness's butler looks like... I guess our stowaway knocked me out. Whatever his... An antique wooden... If Galileo hadn't asserted himself back then... I suppose the life jackets are stowed there. It may not seem like it, but Constable Oliver is actually a very effective watchman.
What's going on?
The Raven just flew by.
What?
Or at least, he might as well have.
I wasn't asleep.
I understand. It was just a ruse. What do you think? What happened here last night?
The Raven broke into the Baroness's cabin, she surprised him, and he shot her.
What was he looking for in her cabin?
She was a rich woman.
He didn't want to steal her purse. He wanted the third key. Why did he lock the door?
Why not?
From inside? An impressive trick.
I'm not saying I know how he did it. I'm just saying that it was him.
Why didn't he leave a raven feather?
Are you serious? We'd have suspected him straight away.
But fortunately, we still did. Any conclusions about our young stowaway?
Yeah, he's a bit suspicious, foreign and whatnot.
I see. Did he act suspiciously in any way?
No. The shot surprised him as much as it did me. Looked in on him earlier. Still seems to be asleep.
Covered with a blanket from head to toe?
Oh, he's still in there. I poked him.
May I go downstairs and have a couple of words with our guest?
No, you may not.
Come again?
Inspector Legrand wants to conduct all the interrogations himself.
I'm sure he'll understand.
He ordered me to guard the door, and that's just what I'm going to...
How about a bit of individual initiative?
How about letting a man do his job? Or do you think you'd be better at it?
Let's assume that the old Raven really has returned and that he really is responsible for all this. Who is he? Or she?
Oh, could be anyone. No one's ever seen the Raven.
He could also be paying someone else to do his dirty work.
Well, of course. It's a fact that he used to work with partners. They even arrested some of his accomplices.
But no one could ever... Fascinating. He could have hired someone with financial difficulties to set off the alarm at a certain time without that person knowing why they would...
The man Legrand shot back then, he was a famous safecracker. He could just as well have been a henchman.
Or the real Raven. There's probably no better cover for a big thief than acting like a small one. I don't want to keep you from your duties any longer.
Good idea.
He won't let me talk to our young... He respects Legrand if I... A stowaway, sure. Although I have to talk to the young fellow right away. Even though he... And could this... If I want... He won't let... I guess our stowaway knocked me out. Whatever his story is... It may not seem like it, but Constable Oliver is actually a very effective watchman. He won't let me talk to our young friend. He respects if I want. Constable Oliver brought something. You can tell it. The bottle should be full of water, unless the good constable happens. No way to verify that. I can't get the bottle without him noticing. I wonder if this game is an advanced version of bocce. Maybe. Salty sea air in my... If I had... We were here yesterday when we heard the shot, and it was also here where Legrand caught our stowaway. There's dirt down below. The ship's bridge. I better let them... Why is there an axe hanging here? I suppose it's for chopping through ropes in the event that the lifeboats can't be lowered. Or they use it to enforce... A boat like this would also make a good hideout for a stowaway. Curious. One can easily toss a gun into the sea from almost anywhere on the ship without being noticed. And yet, the murderer chose the one spot where it's... These things made quite a racket last night. I couldn't hear... Lady Westmacott seems to be an early bird, but maybe that's just because of all the excitement. I saw... Lady Westmacott, already on your... Oh.
Constable, don't you think before you speak?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to...
No time for chit-chat. What have you found out?
We're still working on the case. Actually, I have a couple of questions for you.
Please, go ahead.
What did you think of our adventure on the train? An extraordinary story, isn't it?
I'm glad that you were able to prove yourself, Mr. Zellner.
Hopefully not for the last time.
I'm glad that everything ended well. I want to thank you sincerely for taking care of Matthew.
It all worked out in the end. Do you think that the thief from the train and the murderer are the same person?
I think the new Raven is capable of anything.
Legrand believes there is no new Raven. He thinks that the old one has returned. Do you think it's possible? Everyone thinks he's dead.
As a dramatist, the return of the Raven would certainly be delightful. A legend comes back from the grave at the same time.
Why is that?
I fought his burglaries, but he was sloppy, and no.
What do you think? Who is our suspect?
Everyone, or almost everyone. Everyone on board is physically capable of shooting someone, but who has the dark desire to take the life of a defenseless person?
One cannot read minds.
And one should not try. You have to collect it. It won't be like a bad crime. And because...
Have you noticed anything related to the murder?
Unfortunately not. I was already in my cabin and missed all...
You're telling me.
Oh, and...
I doubt...
I certainly...
What do you think of Inspector Legrand?
He seems to be as skilled as everyone says. Intelligent. I had a chat this...
I don't think he ever really stopped hunting the Raven.
Unjustified. Anyone who tries so hard to tear down his own memorial or insane...
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep...
Of course. I shouldn't buy her... Captain DeConti is sitting at the bar again. He gave me the glass of champagne last night. Hello, Captain DeConti.
Hey, Constable Zellner. You're back on your feet again. Glad to see it.
What was your experience of last night?
Oh, terrible. Dinner was fantastic. Everyone was excited about having a pleasant drink under the stars. And then this.
You were in the saloon all night long.
As the captain, I have to care for my passengers. After you and the others rushed out, I tried to maintain a festive atmosphere. But when...
How was the Baroness?
She really surprised me. After she was so unapproachable at the reception and didn't show her face for the entire afternoon, I was afraid she was one of the bores and bourgeoisie. But then she arrived in the early evening in the best of moods. Already had a few, if you know what I mean.
Did she say anything to you?
She asked me where Legrand's cabin was. I told her, then invited her to come for drinks in the evening. I said it would be great fun. The whole ship will be there, and you don't want to miss that, I told her.
And then?
She seemed to like the idea. She smiled, and then left again for a few minutes. Then she came back and seemed very happy. We drank a toast to life.
But at some point she didn't feel well anymore?
She overdid it a bit. She suddenly started to swoon and almost spilled her drink. I asked her if she wanted to rest for a moment in her cabin. At first, she didn't want to. But then
Did everyone drink from the same bottle of champagne last night?
there was more than one bottle, if that's what you mean. There were quite a few guests, and the event lasted several hours.
The last bottle of champagne, the one the Baroness drank from,
Certainly.
we have reason to believe that the champagne was drugged.
Incredible. But wouldn't that have made everyone drowsy?
Not if it was only the Baroness's glass that was drugged.
I see. That's possible. There are several stewards, many guests. No one keeps track of every glass and...
A few drops in a glass.
Yes, it's certainly possible.
The glass you handed me last night, where did you get it?
You think your glass was poisoned as well?
Did you pour it yourself?
No, I took the first available glass and I give it to you.
Was it on the table?
No, I hurry over to... He had the glass in his hand. He was looking around for a place to set it down. I took it from him.
And gave it to me?
You look so worse for...
Is it possible to find out where the alarm was set off?
I'm afraid not. There are alarms all over the ship.
I saw that...
I'm afraid they're gonna be missing on a lot of alarms. You know, this is an old ship, and over the years...
So, you're saying that the alarm...
I'll inform the crew immediately, of course.
Of course. What can you tell me about the passengers?
Oh, not that much, I'm afraid. I wanted to get to know them properly at the reception. There are a few regulars on board, but these bloody airplanes are making our lives miserable. Can you imagine? Grown men prefer to jam themselves into a narrow metal...
It's all about saving time.
It shouldn't be about how much time it takes to get from A to B, but about how you spend that time. What you experience on the journey.
I'll get back to my...
Ciao, Constable.
I'm sure Captain DeConti... We're lucky that
Come in. Constable?
About the tranquilizer.
Who gave you the glass of champagne?
It was Captain DeConti.
You're sure?
He doesn't deny it, but he also says that the glasses passed through many hands that night and that everyone had access to the champagne.
So it could have been anyone.
Maybe the
Smart.
Dr. Gebhardt? The captain got the glass from him.
An unconscious ship's doctor.
You think so? Did the murderer have reason to assume that his shot might not kill the victim immediately?
You're right. That's improbable. My ego is just searching for reason. Good job, Zellner.
I found feathers in the Baroness's cabin.
Really?
Yes, under her bed.
I hope this is leading up to some information that justifies this.
Some of the feathers are singed.
Show me. Well, you may have something here.
I think that someone fired a shot through a pillow or something like that, and the muzzle flash scored.
Yeah.
I was able to make the traces she wrote. If we can find...
I was...
Monsieur?
When I entered,
Why didn't you say anything about it?
I didn't know that I was obliged to.
We are partners, but...
I'll choose when and with whom I share information. You can accept that and continue assisting me, or you can spend the rest of the journey on a deck chair thinking about missed opportunities.
And none of this is by any chance related to the fact that the message doesn't suit your Raven theory. The Baroness knew the murderer from the past, and he was already a murderer when he boarded the ship. The Raven was always just a thief, not a murderer.
Careful, Constable. Are you accusing me of perverting the facts?
Of course not, monsieur.
Then let's get back to work. Good day, Constable.
I'll be in touch if I uncover more clues. The death of his mistress. I'm sure I shouldn't bother her. Her mind. How it would be. I have even... And could the same if I want... He won't... The bottle should be... No. It may not... I guess I'll... Whatever. I hope I don't... The alcoholic... Fresh ice and...
Constable Zelna, what is the mean? Are even... Well then, why did... But bring...
I'm sure Captain DeConti wouldn't mind a chat, but I don't think... I'm sure...